order of my speech. It is a pleasure and privilege to join you at this very important conference on early childhood development, a subject that is not only close to my heart but heart of every caring society, but to the future of any serious nation. Let me begin with a simple but profound truth. The future of Pakistan is not shaped first in the university, nor even in the school. It is shaped in the home, in the womb, in the health center, in the first embrace of the mother, and in the earliest years of a child's life. If we wish to build a strong Pakistan, a productive Pakistan, a prosperous Pakistan, a compassionate Pakistan, and a competitive Pakistan, then we must begin where all human capability begins, in early childhood. This is not sentiment, this is science. This is economics, and this is nation building. Research across the world confirms that the earliest years of life are the most critical for brain development, cognitive development, learning capacity, emotional resilience, and lifelong productivity and success. UNICEF and WHO emphasize the importance of the earliest, especially the first 1,000 days, while UNICEF's current framework for early childhood development extends this continuum to primary school entry. Nobel laureate James Hammond's work has shown that high quality early investments yield high long-term returns, with estimates around 13% annually in well-designed birth to 5 programs. In other words, the case for early childhood development is not merely moral. It is strategic, it is developmental, and it is good economics. A nation that delays investments in its children is for that neglect later in the form of poor learning, low productivity, weak health, social exclusion, and intergenerational poverty. A nation that invests early creates stronger citizens, stronger communities, and stronger and robust economics. Ladies and gentlemen, for Pakistan, this agenda is especially urgent. Our children face multiple and overlapping deprivations. The world has noted that over 50% of Pakistan are stunted, and recent national reporting has warned that more than half of young children are at a risk of poor developmental outcomes due to factors including poor nutrition, inadequate health, and limited stimulation. At the same time, a World Bank note on Pakistan has highlighted that early childhood education enrollment for children 3 to 5 remained only 31% in 2022. These are not isolated statistics. They are warning signals about the future quality of our human capital. The mere fact that more than 40% of our children are stunted is a sign of, because I would say it is a matter of national security. If 40% of our children have compromised cognitive ability, how in the world can we ever compete in an age where creativity, innovation, new of development is malnourished or excluded in the years that child begins life already behind, and when millions begin behind, the nation falls behind. That is why early childhood development must no longer be seen as a peripheral social welfare issue. It has to be elevated to the national development. Under Udan Pakistan, we are committed to moving from a narrow understanding of development to a more from and mortar alone to brains, skills, health, and human potential, from short-term political fixes to long-term national capability, from survival. Because aspect to knowledge economy, while neglecting the formative years in which knowledge capacity itself is built. Human capital does not begin at age 6. It begins. Human productivity does not begin in the labor market. It begins in early nourishment, responsive caregiving, language exposure, relation, and safe environments. And national competitiveness does not begin in industrial zones through machines and technology alone. It begins in whether our children arrive at school ready to learn, ready to thrive, and ready to contribute. Distinguished participants, the encouraging news is that the world today offers us only evidence, but also tested models. The global consensus now points strongly towards what WHO and UNICEF describe as the nurturing care framework, an integrated approach that combines good health, adequate nutrition, responsive caregiving, safety and security, and opportunities for early learning. Countries that have made progress have not treated child development as the job of one ministry alone. They have linked health, education, nutrition, social protection, parenting support, and community systems into one coherent architecture. Chile's Cressy Condigo has become a widely cited model because it combines universal access to services with targeted support for the most vulnerable, because it connects health, education, and social protection under one integrated framework. The experience of Sure Start in the United Kingdom reinforced another lesson. Early intervention works best when services are brought closer to families and communities rather than waiting for crisis to emerge later. UNICEF's recent parenting support framework also underlines the importance of structured support to parents and caregivers from pregnancy through age 8. These lessons are highly for Pakistan. We have already taken some steps. UNICEF's Pakistan's 2024 notes support for the launch of the Pakistan Early Childhood Development Policy Framework, which provides an important foundation. But frameworks must now move to implementation, scale, financing, standards, accountability. There is, a study by Stanford University professor that all failed or sick organizations or systems, a KDG trap, knowing doing gap, that they know everything but they cannot implement their knowledge. And I think that's where we so today need to focus. There is no dearth of knowledge on these issues, but there is great dearth of implementing these ideas and putting them into action. So let us all, resolve that what we learn, what we have to now, time has come to put it into action. Therefore, I place before this distinguished gathering a more concrete national way for which we must all partner and work together. First, we must move from fragmented programs to an integrated early childhood development system. It cannot grow in departmental response, cannot remain trapped in silos either. Health, nutrition, WASH, early learning, birth registration, disability screening, maternal and protection must be stitched together into one chain around the child and the caregiver. That is the central lesson of global best practices. Second, we must prioritize the first 1,000 days and the next 1,000 days. Too often our systems intervene too late. The period from pregnancy to age 2 is decisive for nutrition, growth, attachment, and brain development. But the years up to age 5 and then to age 8 are equally vital for language, readiness, and skill development. Services, nutrition programs, and early learning interventions must be redesigned around this life cycle approach. Third, we must universalize school readiness, especially for the poorest children. Every child in Pakistan should enter grade 1 ready to learn. That means expanding quality pre-primary early communities, especially served rural areas, low-income urban settlements, communities. But access alone is not enough. Quality matters. Age-appropriate curriculum, trained educators, play-based learning, learning, safe classrooms, and strong transition from preschool to primary school. Fourth, we must recognize parents as the first teachers and families as the first learning environment. No national early childhood development strategy can succeed if it speaks to institutions, not to households and families. Parenting support must become part of service delivery through lady health workers, community platforms, digital outreach, parenting groups, and mass communication. Mothers and fathers both in nutrition, language interaction protection. Fifth, we must target vulnerability with precision. Children facing poverty, nutrition, disability, conflict, climate shocks, displacement, or social exclusion require intensified support. Universal systems must be complemented by targeted interventions. This is one of the clearest lessons from successful international movements. Equity must be built into them, designed from beginning, not added as afterthought. Six, build an early childhood workforce and quality assurance system. No reform succeeds without people. Train early childhood education teachers, community workers, health personnel, caregivers, supervisors, and local managers equipped with common standards and practical tools. We also need national and provincial quality standards for early childhood centers, development, screening, caregiver engagement, and school readiness outcomes. What gets scaled without standards often gets diluted. And as they say, what gets measured gets done. What gets financed without accountability delivers. Seventh, we must measure what matters. For many have focused on inputs, buildings, schemes, allocations, announcements. The future belongs to systems that track outcomes, nutrition status, development milestones, preschool participation, readiness for school, parental engagement, and equity of access. We need provincial and district early childhood development dashboards, periodic assessments, and public reporting so that this agenda becomes monetarily visible. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are serious, then early childhood development of human capital strategy would go say it has to be cornerstone of Pakistan's economic reform strategy, and therefore under Udan Pakistan we recognize the importance of this area and the fifth E, that is equity, poverty. When we speak of productivity, let us remember that productivity has roots in nutrition. When we speak of competitiveness, let us remember that competitiveness has roots in cooperation. Speak of social harmony, let us remember that social harmony has roots in emotional security and healthy development. When we speak of national progress, let us remember that national progress has roots in the early years of life. That is why I believe the next generation of reform in Pakistan has to be early childhood development is central place in planning, budgeting, and implementation. Early development compact that aligns federal leadership with initial implementation, because most of these after it fall under the provinces. Unites sector, academia, civil society and development partners, and sets clear 5-year targets for child nutrition, preschool access, parenting support, workforce development, and school readiness. This is the kind of reform that may not always produce instant headlines, but it produces, far more important, a stronger nation. A child who is well nourished, stimulated, loved in the early years is more likely to become a confident learner, a healthy adult, a productive worker, and a responsible citizen. And when millions of such children rise together, nations rise with them. Let me conclude with this thought. We often discuss children as the future of Pakistan. That is true, but it is not the whole truth. Children are also the most test of our present priorities. If we fail them in the first years of life, no later reform can fully compensate. But if we support them early, wisely, and at a scale, we unlock the most powerful engine of national transformation. Under Udan Pakistan, we envision a Pakistan where every child is given not just the right to survive, but the opportunity to thrive. Not just a seat in life, not just protection from deprivation, but a pathway to dignity and contribution. Let us therefore leave this conference with resolve. Let us build a Pakistan where every child matters, every is supported, and every early year counts. So before I go, just like very, humbly appeal to academia, media, and civil society to please speak louder on social issues. Today, Pakistan's vulnerability comes from its social underdevelopment. Our economic indicators are almost close to middle income countries. But if we look at our indicators, we are in the league of the most or the least underdeveloped African countries. That is a shame. A country that could make a nuclear bomb is not able to fix its social indicators. We are not able to have 90% literacy. Our literacy level is 60%. 25 million children are out of school. We carry a burden of 40%. Why? I think one very important reason is that unfortunately, every government in this country focuses on the election cycle. And what pays you is brick and mortar, physical infrastructure. You construct roads, highways, skyscrapers, you create physical infrastructure, you get applause, you get re-elected. Every social sector investment is a because investment in education does not give results for 10 years. So no one prioritizes investments in social sectors. But what is at stake? The stake of 240 million people for future, our children's future. So we have to make this agenda central, and we have to speak louder on accountability of the governments on what they are doing to address these issues. Is most vulnerable. So therefore I hope that you will all be the champions of early childhood education and make governments hear this, listen to your message that the future of Pakistan lies in investing in the first and most formative years of our children. Only by investing in those years of our life, we can make Pakistan stronger, prosperous and competitive. Pakistan Zindabad.
वफाक मनसूबाबंदी अहसन इकबाल बच्चों